everyone, welcome to another episode of the Jonesin 4 Show. Today we are talking about taking leaps of faith. That's right, the time in your life when you know you want to do something, you have something in your mind, your heart's set on, but you're afraid to take that leap. You're afraid to jump in and go all in on whatever that is. Well, you're in luck because today's guest is going to help you take that leap. He is going to share with you the steps that he has done when he took his big leap of faith and the other ones that he's done. He's going to give you the tools, the tricks to help you be confident and trust yourself so you can do it. That's right. We're talking with Mike Dedoes here. He's a friend of mine. He's a fitness guy. He's run Spartan races before. He is a guy that goes after life, lives his life to the fullest, chases passions to the max, and takes big leaps of faith when they need to happen. And Mike, you mentioned this is your first podcast, first show. Welcome to your first show. I'm so pumped to have you here, and congratulations and welcome to being on the Jonesin 4 Show.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And that's what you got to do at the end of the day. It's create an urgency and always pushing yourself to that next level, because we always tend to go back to what's familiar if we don't step it up to that next level.
Man, within the first 2 minutes here, you're dropping bombs for us to be like, all right, so here's what you do, folks. First, you just go for it, right? You just got to trust yourself and go, and that's how life's going to change. And you're totally right. But let's back up here a little bit here, Mike. So share with us a little bit about your background, things about you that my audience and I would love to know about you, and we'll end it with you sharing about your big leap of faith, the one you most recently have taken on.
So for me, when I through high school, I really wasn't confident in myself. I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs that stemmed from getting bullied. I struggled with a learning disability. I rode the short bus to school. And throughout high school, I would always be the last one to talk in front of people for a presentation. And I just remember just hating the feeling of going around a circle, on the first day of class, everybody introduced themselves and I would always get nervous. My heart would beat and I'm like, can't they just skip me? But it was that's how I felt. I just wasn't confident in myself. I didn't speak my mind. I just avoided confrontation. I mean, I've always been a friendly guy to everybody, but I was just more of a pushover. And, I just lived my life like that for a while. After high school, I went to college and I would just see myself with all these patterns I went through. When I went to the gym, my buddy got me into weightlifting, and I would always try so hard to be cool and to be liked. So I would go to the gym and I would be this is a way of proving myself. And I would lift heavy weights, and I was just very self-conscious in myself. So I would always look around the gym and, all right, is there any attractive women checking me out? And that's how I felt. And I felt I always had to prove myself. So throughout my whole life, I've always struggled with that. And through my coaching journey, I've done a lot of just personal development, a lot of mindset work. And the biggest thing that has really helped me out is looking back on my past and seeing where it all started from. When I got bullied, when I got picked on, when I rode the short bus. And here's the thing, back then when that happened, I wasn't conscious that I was able to, I can't always control the self-limiting beliefs that start in my mind, but I can look from the outside in, and I always have a choice of responding in a positive way and replacing those self-limiting beliefs that with beliefs that serve me. And that was the problem, is like throughout my whole life, I always had this story in my head that I wasn't good enough, that I was feeling scarcity. And the problem with that is whenever you focus on scarcity, you're just going to attract more scarcity into your life. So like, being nervous in when I was doing classroom presentations, like that, that was a disadvantage for me. Like that story I was telling myself when I went in for job interviews. So I got my degree in computer info systems, but it took me probably about, I think it was 2 or 3 years before I found my first job in IT. And I was working at my uncle's company for a while, in the factory. And I was telling myself the story that I wasn't good with job interviews. And I would always struggle with them. And the main thing that I've really learned is the stories that I tell myself, I have a choice of how I always have a choice of changing the story in my head to something that serves me. So through like personal development, like listening and reading from successful people, like journaling. And I know a lot of people say, I tried journaling in the past and it doesn't work for me. I tried meditation in the past and it doesn't work for me. This is exactly how I felt when I first did it. I'm like, I don't feel any different, but I knew, like I had that faith, that long-term vision, like I know the science behind this and I know this works. And the one thing that's really like changed my mindset is after years and years of these self-limiting beliefs, like if somebody struggled with weight gain, like they put on weight gain for years, you're not going to lose weight just overnight. It's going to take time in order to rewire the subconscious mind. And like I just learned a lot about like how the subconscious mind and the conscious mind works. And the awesome thing is like the subconscious mind either is your worst enemy or is your best friend. So I continue to rewire that subconscious mind and continue to tell myself stories that benefited me. And I automatically think more positive now.
That's awesome, man. Like I love hearing the story. There's more about your past than even I realize. And I think like I know I personally can, and I'm sure people in my audience can relate to you and what you're saying so much. I mean, thinking about like being in the classroom and in that circle when, most teachers do, not every teacher, right? But a lot of teachers go around and say, okay, tell us something happened this weekend or over the summer or something about you or whatever. I was a classroom teacher for 9 years. I did this with my students at different times throughout the year just to break the ice. But you're right, not everyone's outgoing. Even me, who's like, I feel I'm outgoing, I'm energetic, I don't mind being center of attention, but I still got nervous doing those things. So I'm able to relate to some level with you with that. I'm sure many other people feel that same way. But what I love is hearing the journey that you've gone on with or gone through already. You look back at those times and see, okay, why did I feel that way? Why did I feel nervous or scared about that? And these beliefs that you had about yourself, and then looking back at your job interviews, you said I wasn't good at interviews. So it's that you look back and you had those self-limiting beliefs that now you're like, okay, I had those beliefs. Are they true? Are they really who I am? And you looked at them objectively and said, no, maybe at times, sure, but not always, right? I don't have to identify with that belief. Instead, I can enrich myself and change my mindset, change that belief using positive affirmations, using journaling, as you said. But the thing that you tied in right at the end that I think is huge is you need to believe in it. You need to go all in and say, yep, I believe in this. Because if you do it half-heartedly, if you only put in a little bit, you're not going to see the results. You're not going to feel that change, have that change, unless you fully commit to it. And shifting your mindset from I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm a bad interviewer, I'm scared, I'm whatever, to the more positive side of it. Doesn't mean you have to be, Superman or something absolutely amazing, but you don't have to live with those beliefs of self-doubt and unworthiness throughout your life.
Exactly.
So let's look at, say you've grown up so much over these years and through this personal development that you've took this leap of faith now, and I'm really curious to see and hear your perspective of how your self-limiting beliefs led, and this personal development you've had led to making this leap of faith for you. So you lived in Michigan before, and for most of your life, is that correct?
Yep. So I grew up in Illinois, and then I moved to Michigan for school.
All right. So you moved to Michigan for school, and then you lived there for many years. I believe you had a brother near there, near you or so. And then now you've uplifted and changed states totally. You're lucky in the sense that you're not married, you don't have family or like a wife or spouse or kids to move, because then that gets challenging in its own right. Not that it can't be done, many people do it, but you thankfully didn't have that stressor in there. But what made you want to shift, and how did you do it? Like, walk us through this process.
So, like I said, for the longest time, I've struggled with self belief and believing in myself that I can make my goals happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like the awesome thing with like working on your mindset, like the more I work on my mindset, everything on the external changes for the better too. Like it's a byproduct of changing these thoughts in your head. Like so many people, the problem is they're seeing life through a completely different lens. So when you shift that lens, just kind of like what you focus on, you get more of. And like when you have a magnifying glass close to the sun, like you can kill a bug if you aim that sun on the bug. And that's kind of like how what we put our focus on, that's what we get more of. So like the more and more I worked on my mindset, I was like, all right, like I'm working at a job right now. I'm working this IT job. Like it's a comfortable job. Like I like the people I work with. I made great benefits. And that was like one of the toughest parts, is to have this job where I'm stable I'm making good money. I like the people, but inside my soul, I knew that I had to make a change because I knew I just felt it. And I was just getting bored. I just was tired of the weather, tired of, freezing my butt off when I walk my dog. Like I could even see it like in, when I was going out and, in my dating life, it was like I would go out on dates and I'm like, in the back of my mind, I knew that I had to make this move. Like why date somebody if I'm going to move somewhere different? So for like the longest time, I've always had like this fear of moving and like wondering what's going to happen. And I always delayed it. It's like, that's what a lot of us do. We said, all right, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes into the next year. And here's the thing, like, who knows if we're going to have tomorrow? Like there's no guarantee that tomorrow is going to happen. So we got to make the most out of our current day. We got to make the most out of our present moment. So, I had all these fears, and it wasn't until I met one of my mentors, Tommy Baker. He was in one of his mastermind groups, and he's saying, one of the things that really resonated with me, and it's helped me out a lot with just making commitments with the Spartan trifecta I did last year. He said, you got to commit first and then figure it out later. Because so many of us, we try and like put all the puzzle pieces together. It's like, all right, what if this happens? What if this happens? And the thing is, like, a lot of the stuff doesn't even end up happening. We just worry about it and it doesn't end up happening.
Right.
So he said, you got to commit first and you got to figure it out later. And he kept telling me, all right, when's the goal date? When are you going to put in that 2 weeks?
Right.
Like, ah. And just one day it just clicked. I'm like, all right. And I kept asking the group, I'm like, I don't have a job yet. Like, how am I going to make it work if I don't have a job out there?
Right.
Or just commit and then figure it out. So one day I woke up and just had this voice in my head saying, all right, walk into your manager's office and put in your 2 weeks. So I talked to my manager. I'm like, I love working here. I love the people that I work with. But I want to move to Tennessee. I want to be in the mountains. I want to be by warmer weather. I want new opportunities in my life. Mm-hmm. So I put it in my 2 weeks. And right after that, I talked to one of my contractors and she hooked me up with a job out here. So when I look back, it's like I needed to do this as my stepping stone in order to make bigger things happen in my life. Mm-hmm. So the hardest part was accepting a job where I'm making half of what I made in mm-hmm. Michigan, like not knowing if the people are going to be cool. I didn't have benefits, but I knew in the back of my mind, just like I compare it to like when you first get a new job, you have all this uncertainty going into the new job. And then you're always nervous and it always feels a little off for like first 2 or 3 months, but then you figure it out as you go. And right. That was one of the things in my back of my mind is like, I've been through harder things in my life and I've figured them out. Like you got to have that my life coach, he always talks about like the North Star vision. It's like, how do you want your life to look like 10 years down the road? Like physically, mentally, financially, in your relationships. And that's how you get that faith in order to do bigger things. Because if I would have stayed in Michigan 10 years down the road, mm-hmm. like how would I be physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially? Like I might be married, I might have kids. Like the worst feeling in the world is like feeling regret, mm-hmm. knowing that you had the chance and you didn't take it. And even if I came out here and it turned out that it wasn't didn't work out for me, at least I said I did it. And now I'm out here, I'm in nature every weekend. Like there's mountains that I can hike to that are 30 minutes away. I'm meeting some really cool people. I just went on a really awesome date the other day. Nice. I mean, the job situation, it's a little temporary right now. So I took the $13.50 an hour job and I'm working at this new place where I'm making more, but it's a temporary position because what they're doing is they're laying off people. They're outsourcing to India. Okay. So they're bringing in new people to to fill those spots for the people that are leaving. Gotcha. So the plan is I'm working night shift. So during this night shift, I have all this time to study for my personal training certification.
Nice. So you're using the opportunity that you have with your job now to continue to chase those goals and passions that you have of becoming a personal trainer and getting your certification. So I love, as I'm looking back and thinking about your story of your move, a lot of it, like if we go back to when you were living in Michigan and you were realizing that, life's good here. I'm happy with, my pay's good, my job's good. Like I'm happy with this, but something isn't clicking. There's something that just feels off to you and to your soul, as you said, that you needed a change and you weren't 100% sure what this change is or was, but then that idea came of like, I should move someplace warmer, someplace, so I can be out in nature more and just give myself a fresh start. And in your case, it was a move, like a total, shifting and moving into a different state. And then taking that leap of faith. So you're in this mastermind group that your one of the mentors in the group said to just go for it and do it. One of the things that we struggle as human beings is to commit. And that's one of the big things I say and I talk about with people is just need to commit to it. Put it down, write it down on a piece of paper, sign up for that race, give them the 2 weeks notice, whatever it is. So then it's there, it's done, it's settled, you're booked to do it. So one thing, if you listen to the interview with Ted McDonald, I believe we talked about this, and with Alicia Kral, we talked about this. They're both Iron Men and Iron Woman, respectively. And then that's what they says, you need to just commit to doing it, because the rest, you'll start figuring it out. I forget who it was. One personal development person I was listening to, I can't remember her name, was saying, life's figure outable. Like, it's okay. Might even be Jonesin Johnson. Like you commit to it and then you figure it out, because guess what? You've survived everything up to this point. You're alive. You've figured things out. Trust yourself to figure it out. You don't need to be that person. No one needs to be that person to have everything, T's crossed, I's dotted, and everything set in place before you commit, because most likely 99% of the time you're not going to commit to it. You're just going to bang your head against the wall of what ifs, and do this. Instead, as you said, you got to commit and then figure it out afterwards.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Is so often we focus on, it's important to have this bigger vision of what we want our lives to look like, how we want to show up, the things that we want to say. But oftentimes when we think that big, we think of all the details.
Right.
And oftentimes we get so overwhelmed by all the details. It's like, what do I need to do now in order to move forward? And they're like, oh, it's too overwhelming. Let's wait for tomorrow. When really it's just a matter of, all right, breaking down our goals. Like, we need to have this 1 year goal, but we also need to have quarterly goals, like monthly goals, weekly goals,
right?
And then those daily action steps. Like, what can you do right now that's going to be the biggest needle mover to do whatever you want to do in life? And that's like what I'm reminding myself of, because with this whole, like, going back and getting my personal training certification, I was actually certified in personal training. Like, when I was working at my uncle's company, I was like, I loved working out. I'm like, this is what I want to do. And right. I was running my own business. Like, I had no clue how to run a business. Like, I was just trying to figure out everything by myself. And, I was scared to ask help. And I would get people that were interested. Like, I had some pretty good results back then, but the problem is, I didn't believe in myself. So, those stories that I was constantly telling myself, all right, this customer left, this client left, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I ever succeed at this? Right. Like, no, I'm worth it regardless of what happens around me. Because it's like, when you shift into the mindset of, so often we focus on, like, trying to get to the next goal. And what we need to do is we need to look back on the first thing we did that we were successful at. Right. Because if you go into achieving the next goal with this mindset of scarcity, you're just going to attract more scarcity. So you got to be in this mindset of being successful, like I did in the past, so I can do it again. You got to focus on things that are inside your control. So that's what I'm continuing to focus on, like going back into getting this personal training certification. Like, yeah, I have these self-limiting beliefs. Like you did this in the past. Like, are people actually going to stick around with you this time
Right.
around?
Well, and I
And
think a lot of that is that the dispelling that negative self-talk, that those personal beliefs that you have that were holding you back before, that really that come back. It's not like you say it once and then you put it away, or you solve it. Like, okay, I'm not that feeling that way anymore. I've got rid of that self-belief. Well, it creeps back in over time, especially some of them do, not all of them do, but some of them, especially the more deeply rooted ones, self-limiting beliefs, they'll come back, and you just have to keep reminding yourself with the techniques that you've learned, the tools of self-affirmations, journaling, and reminding yourself, like, no, I looked at my past, I saw what I did back then. I realized, like for you in my training, like, yeah, I realized I had these awesome customers and they were great, they got awesome results, I helped them get these great results, they left. And then I looked at, okay, why did they leave? What can I change? What can I do differently now to make that change in this time around, whether it's a change you technically do or a change of your mindset, because as you already said, I'm just going to phrase it a little differently, you get what you give out to the world. So if you're giving negative, if you're looking for the negatives, if you're looking for the limiting beliefs, that's what you're going to get back, and that's what you're going to feel and have. But if you're giving the positivity, if you're looking for opportunities, if you're looking for love out in the world, guess what you're going to see? You're going to be getting all those things back at you and more, right? It's all about what you put out to the world, and that what you put out to the world, to quote Pat Flynn, what you give out to the world gives back to you.
exactly.
So,
And that's like what a lot of people struggle with is, especially people that just kind of feel hopeless. Like they just kind of are continuing to spin their wheels and continuing to like focus on all the reasons why they can't be successful and, what's going wrong. And it's like the problem with that is we're always going to attract more of that. And I always say, like you've created a pattern of thinking of all the things that are going wrong, and it's going to take time in order to rewire those subconscious habits. But I always say, like, you got to have this faith in yourself that things are going to work out. Because here's the problem with like a lot of people that, like with a fitness program, people want the quick fix. So
right.
They'll be in it for a couple weeks, and then the dopamine will go away. Like the feelings of doing something new, like buying a new car, like you're going to get used to that car after a while.
Right.
And people have this habit of, when things lose excitement, when the struggles happen, when the feelings of discomfort happen, when they're not getting the results quick enough, they go to another program, and then they go to another program. And like, how do you know if it's you got to stick with it from start to finish in order to really see those results. And that's why I always say you got to disconnect from, like the results are important. Like it's important to get results, but it should always be about the action steps. It should always be about what this is doing in your life rather than just the surface level, like losing weight. Because so many of us, we link so much pain to change. Like it's important, like for instance, what I'm saying, like what would my life look like 10 years down the road if I don't make a change? It's important to have that in order, because we got to create urgency, because if we don't create urgency, we're always going to wait for tomorrow. But if you're always in that mindset where you're always focusing on pain, like I'm not happy with my weight, I need to work out today. I ate something unhealthy, like I got to eat super healthy for this next month and, not go out with friends and not have fun. That starts to really wear on you.
Right.
Like you're changing your mindset where it's supposed to be like transformation. There's so many positives with it, But if we're always in this mindset of focusing on the negatives, focusing on what we lose, you're not going to want to stick around with it long term.
So it's looking at from the quick fixes, the quick changes that you can make, and having those band-aids, as opposed to doing the mind shift and our mindset change to something that's gonna be long-term and healthier. You gave out the example of losing weight. Well, okay, I need to work out because I ate something unhealthy, or I need to eat really healthy to make up for this one mistake that or one donut I had, or whatever it is. But instead, it's not necessarily looking at the quick fixes, the things that supposed cause and effect of how we kind of label it in our heads at points. It's looking at it, this is a lifestyle, this is a shift in your mindset. And I totally agree with you that people struggle with that, and say, especially with weight loss, but with everything, it's part of this big journey. There's no quick fixes. There's very few quick fixes, I should say, in life. And that if you want to live a happy life, to enjoy life, you have to look at it as a balance of everything, right? And the good, the bad, the happy and sad moments, all those things are part of this journey. And it's learning to embrace all of them. And, the bad times are hard, they suck, but they're going to make those sweet times and good times that much sweeter and happier for you. Same thing with fitness, right? You're unhappy. I know I lost like almost 40 pounds. I lost 36 pounds through my weight loss journey. And I was unhappy with how I felt. And that got me going. They got me started. I used it. Great. But that didn't keep me going long term. I needed to shift my mindset to long lasting goals, long lasting healthy lifestyles, and things that were long term, as opposed to the short term fix. Because if I just do the short term fix of 90 days, hey, look, I lost this weight, then I'm done. Well, I'm going to gain it back and I'm going to be unhappy again. It's looking for those long term changes and the goals and things you want in life to live a happy life. And I say, so you can chase your passions to the max, right? So you want to look for those things.
Yeah, and I always say that it's so much deeper than just the weight and everything. And like one thing that's really like it hit me hard, I'm like, that is a good one. My life coach told me that there are people out there and there are opportunities out there that are waiting for you. But in order to meet those people, in order to see those opportunities that you can't see right now, you have to step into the greatest version of yourself right now. And so many people were operating out of this identity of I'm unhealthy. We're in this identity of looking at all the things that went wrong in the past. And instead of like shifting into the identity of, no, like I want to do the Spartan race. So I am an athlete right now. What do I need to do right now in order to complement that identity? I am happy living out in Tennessee. What do I need to do now in order to shift into that identity? Like it's the battle of the new you versus the old you every day. And that's like one of the main things that I always remind myself of is like, we're so worried about all the details of transformation. Like, what do I need to do in order to reach my goal? But if you just stop and you're aware of that self-talk, you can say like, all right, what would the new me do today? How can I starve out the old me? And even if it's just 1% better, like it doesn't have to be a huge shift every day. Like it's consistency with moving 1% every day is better than giving 100%. Like at the end of the day, you want to give like as much as you can during the day, but sometimes it's not going to happen. Like every day you have a chance of winning the day, but not every day is going to be perfect. Like nobody is perfect, but it's better to be consistent with at least moving just a little bit every day rather than making a big shift and then taking like a month or a year off and then making another big shift. And the awesome thing with that is, a lot of times success isn't linear. Like a lot of people think like, all right, I'm going to put 1% in today, and then I'm going to reach this goal.
Right.
And the more and more you like put in action, like you'll wake up one day and you'll go after this goal, and then this huge opportunity will happen like out of nowhere.
Right.
So,
Seemingly out of
but
nowhere.
that goes the other way though too. Like success is, it's either it could be working for you, or it could be working against you. Like nobody is perfect. Like there's things that are always going to pop up, but in order for us to make the most out of our lives, we have to create urgency right now. Like, because tomorrow is never certain.
Right.
We can still go after our goals, and we can still have fun with creating the life that we want to live every single day.
So let me throw this question at you. We're almost through with our time here. So one last quick question, and that is, let's say someone is living their life right now. They're generally happy where they're at. Things are fine, financially they're fine, friends, family, it's fine, but they're feeling uneasy about something, and they're not 100% sure what that is yet, but they just know that they need a change, need something different. They need to spice it up a little bit or add something or change something. What advice would you give them if they came to you and say, hey, Mike, this is what's going on. I'm struggling. I'm not 100% sure what's going on or what needs to change exactly. But what do you suggest I do?
Oftentimes it takes time. It takes time to figure out what you need to do, what your soul feels. And like one of the big things for me is just, so often people, it's hard. Like this transformation journey is hard. It's hard, like looking at ourselves in the mirror, especially if we went through like trauma in the past. Like if we had our parents told us we weren't good enough, if we're in an abusive relationship, it's hard to like look back on those times and see where it all started from, because there's a root of where all these self-limiting beliefs started. And problem is, so many people are cutting off the branches instead of the roots. And like the branches will always come back. They'll always grow back if you don't cut off the root. So a lot of people, they'll, watch Netflix instead of like journaling and getting like really questioning these beliefs and asking themselves, is it true? Like a lot of people will go out and they'll drink as like a coping mechanism for what they're going through. I think the biggest thing, man, is like if somebody like doesn't know where to take their lives, is just to get silent, just to, do something different, like go out in nature, do something that you're not used to doing, go on a date with yourself, just
Right.
get comfortable with yourself. Because so often we are focused on living somebody else's life. Like, we grew up with, all right, I got to go to school. I got to go to college. We grew up with like what society wants us to achieve. So when we really just step back away from all that, away from all the noise, and we get silent, I don't know like what happens, but like when I meditate and I go out in nature and I'm just grateful and focusing on all the things I'm happy for, like the answers just come to me randomly. Like I see that like in the car when I'm like on long car rides.
Right.
I don't know the answers. It's hard to like find the answers when you're constantly busy. Like you're
Right.
constantly taking care of people. Like you need to really sit down and close your eyes, and there's so many thoughts that go through our head every single day.
Mhm.
We got to let go of those thoughts so we can open up more room to ask ourselves, like, they're hard questions, but they're necessary questions to ask in order to figure out where we want to take our life.
So it's finding time for, so if I'm struggling with it or struggling with where to go, I need to find a place to take myself on a date essentially and just have quiet time, whether it's driving, whether it's hiking, getting out in nature. I find personally helps a lot, but just finding the time and asking myself, what do I want? And what do I desire? What do I need? What do I need to feel fulfilled in my life? And asking myself those questions and honing in. It takes time. It takes time for let those things to come your way, but also be open to those answers and not just cutting them off, because it might be something that you weren't expecting, that an opportunity presents your way that goes, this aligns with where I think answers that call, that desire. And then I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit and probably say that once I know where that is, then it's creating that urgency in the sense like, okay, this is where I want to go. And then just take that leap of faith, trust myself, commit to it, and then figure it out after I commit to it, and it'll make it happen, and we'll be good. Is that kind of like a process that one could use?
Yeah, man. Like the biggest changes that I've made in my life weren't from, listening to motivational speeches. Like, yeah, like sometimes like I'll need a motivational speech. But here's the thing, the part that a lot of us struggle with, like I know for me, when I first started as a coach, I would go to all these conference events where there's so much energy, like, and it was motivational, like, all right, I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm going to make change. But the problem with that is it's all external. And like, that's the hardest thing to like show people, is the difference between external transformation and internal transformation. It's like the internal transformation is when you like sit down by yourself and you close your eyes and you think about your life and, what happened in the past, and, think about like all the anchors that hold you back. And like one of the biggest things that's really helped me feel more free in my life is like, yeah, I've done stuff that I'm not proud of, and I've failed, I've struggled, but holding on to those things when I can't change anything about them,
Right.
it's like, how does that serve me to this 10-year North Star vision? Like, what if I continue to hold on to these things for 10 years down the road?
Mm-hmm.
Like the problem, like when somebody's, holding like a heavy boulder or something, like going up a mountain, it's just going to start getting more heavy the more years that we hold on to it. So I've done a lot of just internal work with, forgiveness letters, where forgiving myself for the things that I've done in the past. Like, you gotta, like, the problem is a lot of people, they're not in that mindset yet. Like,
Right.
does that really work? Like, I don't believe in that. But the thing is, you can't create transformation in your life with the same mindset that created the problems. So, like writing forgiveness letters, like what would your best friend say about you when you're going through your struggles? And you just got to like pump yourself up. And so like what Chris Downey was talking about is he's talking about like incantations, like the difference between like affirmations and incantations is like an affirmation is just like, I am worthy, I am successful. Like you have no passion in that, like you have no emotion in that. And you look back on your life when you're younger, like if you go through a traumatic episode, there was emotion behind that, and it ingrained in your mind, into your subconscious mind, your automatic habits. So automatically you think that way. So the problem is a lot of people with affirmations is they don't believe in it. So what you have to do is you have to have like passion. You have to put emotion behind it. So like listening to some inspirational music, lighting some candles, closing your eyes, getting in that mood that you need. And you got to link proof in your life with that affirmation. So rather than I am a leader because I continue to show up, because I am gritty, because I don't give up, because I show up in my group and people love on me, and people say I'm inspirational. This is proof that I'm a great leader. Even if it's like something small, even if it's something small in your past that you feel is small, like you got to really look at that. That's proof that you can be successful. And then it just builds on top of that. Right. Like when I ran, I struggled with running a mile on the track when I was in college. But the more action I put in, the more I focused on this future vision, my belief built up over time.
Right. So
belief just doesn't happen in a day. It takes time. And I always say it has to be a commitment for the rest of your life. And it's each time it's like an onion. You get rid of these layers of an onion, and it's just amazing. Like the more you transform internally, everything externally transforms. Like I've been attracting so many more inspirational and positive people for my business. Like so many people are saying like nice things about me. I believe in myself more to go after bigger things in life, but it all starts with asking yourself those questions and getting silent. And it just builds on top of that.
It's amazing how once you start working inside, the effect that it has on the world around you and the people around you and the opportunities that it presents to you. So, dude, this has been amazing. I'm so happy to have had you on the Jonesin Forest Show. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us and your experiences and insights of how we can improve ourselves by creating urgency in our lives and to go after those goals, and also to be honest with ourselves and look back and reflect and see where we need to go in life, and talking about affirmations and everything. And we've covered a plethora of topics, which is awesome here. How can people find out more about you, learn about you, and work with you if they want? How can people contact you?
So I first want to say thank you so much, man. My first podcast. I felt good.
Dude, you rocked it. You rocked your first podcast. Congratulations.
And like, this is what I want to say also. Like when I first started as a coach, I just remember, all right, I got to go Facebook Live, like to reach a bigger audience in order to do the things that I'm unconfident doing in order to build confidence. And I just remember that first like Facebook Live I did, I'm just like, hey guys, I was just so nervous. And then here's the thing, like you just build belief over time. And like, even though like my heart's beating a little bit, I know I just speak from the heart. Like you can't fail in life when you think with your heart instead of your mind. Because your heart's always along the path. So you guys can find me, Mike Dedoes, on Facebook. I have an Instagram page too. What is my handle? Mike_Dedoes.
Perfect. And folks, we will make sure we link that in the in the show notes for you all. So you can find those show notes. Just go to spencermjones.com, go to the Jonesin Forest Show and find this episode, and you can get all the links to find Mike and make sure that you can follow him. I highly suggest you follow him. He's super inspirational. He shares his mind, his thoughts, everything that you heard today. I shouldn't say everything, but a lot of the stuff we hear today, he shares tidbits of throughout the weeks and days on social media, and helps people live their best life. So I highly suggest you check out Mike. on social media. Again, you can find all those links on the show notes at spencermjones.com. Any parting words before we sign off?
I would say just do it, just like the Nike slogan.
I love it.
Here's the thing, like I was listening to Trent Shelton the other day where he's talking about like you don't want to go to the grave with these regrets, all these things that you haven't done. And it's kind of like the Les Brown quote. He says like the graveyard is the richest place on earth because here, like I just get chills thinking about it. Here's like all the inventions, all the talents, all the value that somebody could add in somebody's life, but they took it to the grave because they didn't have the courage to create urgency in order to make it happen now. And he's also talking about like the whole story about Kobe and like how like he's super inspirational,
Right?
Like it doesn't matter. Like the main thing is like you could live 90 years old and you don't really experience too much in your life. It's more about making the most out of the one life that we have to live. So with Kobe, he lived 40, he lived up to, I think, 40 years old, but he accomplished so much during those 40 years. Right. And he's talking about how not only did he inspire so many people during his life, but now he's inspiring people that don't really know too much about him. So he's actually inspiring even more people after his death.
Right.
So like that's what I like constantly focus on. Like any kind of fear, any kind of uncertainty I feel, I'm always thinking about like how can I live on after I die? Like what will people say about me at my funeral?
Right. What's that legacy you're leaving behind?
And just focus on those values every single day. Like I'm not going to be perfect, but as long as I have those values in the back of my head, I'm going to win more days.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So, dude, great advice to leave on. Just do it. Leave this amazing legacy so you can keep inspiring and helping people. Folks, if you like this show, if you like this episode, please let us know. Share it out with your friends and family. Tag Mike and I in it so that we know that you appreciate it, you liked it. And as always, subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. Lots of awesome content coming your way. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And folks, thanks for listening today. Until our next show, we will catch you all later.